It has become one of the most challenging issues facing local law enforcement in recent years, and it's getting worse. It's called swatting. That's when someone calls in a false report to police about something as serious as a bomb threat or an active shooter, and it can have deadly consequences. As senior investigative reporter Lisa Fletcher discovered, Maryland is among a growing number of states passing laws to combat the problem, but there is a loophole that law enforcement says needs to be closed.
Hundreds of students hunkered down at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School just weeks ago after a swatting incident triggered a full-scale armed response.
Everybody all right?
Days later, a 78-year-old Virginia woman had her house surrounded by police, responding to a fake call she'd been murdered by her son. Her son is former D.C. police officer Michael Fanone, nearly killed in the January 6th riots. He is an outspoken critic of Donald Trump.
Donald Trump doesn't care about things like honor, integrity, shame.
Hours after Michael Fanone referred to Trump as authoritarian outside the hush money trial, Fanone's mother was swatted. These false calls are intended to create a volatile, high-stress situation. Police responding with lethal force when there is no emergency. The consequence being the potential injury or death of innocent people. It happened in 2017 when a Los Angeles man called police in Kansas and claimed there had been a shooting at a house in Wichita.
They were arguing and I just shot him in the head and he's not breathing anymore.
That fake call ended with the innocent resident coming out of the house and being shot and killed by an officer who thought he had a weapon. Tyler Barris was sentenced to 20 years in prison for making the hoax call, prompted by an argument over a video game. Any sense of why there's a rise in these kind of incidents?
Well, I think some of it, quite candidly, the organized swatting which has common themes, may have a root in politics.
John McCarthy is the chief prosecutor in Montgomery County, Maryland, which has been the backdrop for several high-profile swatting incidents, including that of special counsel Jack Smith, overseeing the prosecution of 2 federal criminal cases against Donald Trump. Last Christmas, Smith was swatted. The caller claimed Smith had shot his wife.
I do think it's a measure of I think it harassing individuals if their political persuasion or their role in a political issue is one that you don't agree with. So this becomes a tool to use against them.
McCarthy says swatting is not only extremely dangerous, it also exhausts strained resources. Last year, Maryland became one of 9 states, Virginia among them, to pass anti-swatting laws. But despite the new law, juvenile offenders, who McCarthy says commit many of the crimes, are sometimes getting off too easy.
One of the holes I think that still exists in Maryland law is the hole for juvenile offenders who are taking these risks because it's a civil matter if it's a child in Maryland.
McCarthy says prosecutors should have more ability to charge juveniles as adults in these cases, which by all accounts are on the rise, not just in Maryland, but across the U.S. Lisa Fletcher, 7 News.
Now, unfortunately, experts warn that swatting incidents will likely rise as we get closer to the election. You can see Lisa's report on this story on WJLA.com.